Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're talking about the nitrogen cycle. So you may be asking yourself, what is the nitrogen cycle? Well, simply put, the nitrogen cycle is the backbone to the ecosystem that you are trying to create for any aquarium, whether it's freshwater or saltwater. The nitrogen cycle is super important as it helps to protect your fish from unwanted waste buildup in the tank. Any food that gets put into the tank, whether it gets eaten by the fish or not, will eventually start to break down into ammonia. Ammonia is highly toxic to the fish as it can burn their gills. These burns can lead to scarring, which make it impossible for the fish to breathe. Without the ability to breathe, the fish will eventually perish. In order to eliminate the ammonia from your tank, it is crucial to build up a healthy population of beneficial bacteria that will break down the ammonia into a much safer form, nitrite, and then further break that down into the safest form, nitrate. Completing this cycle is crucial before adding livestock to the system, because otherwise there is a high chance that the livestock will become stressed and die. After the ammonia has been broken down into nitrite, it is less toxic to the fish and inhabitants than ammonia is, but it doesn't mean that it's not toxic. Nitrite has its own effect on the fish, making it very difficult for them to absorb oxygen into their bloodstream. Although this damage is not permanent to the fish, it prevents them from being able to breathe properly, which puts stress on their system and can lead to death. This is why it is so crucial to complete the cycle and to make sure that there is no ammonia or nitrite left in the system before adding any livestock. Once you start to see nitrate building up in the system, it's a good sign that you are on the right track. So now you may be asking yourself, how do you get this cycle to build itself in your aquarium? Well, that part's simple. There are many different products on the market that are beneficial bacteria boosters that are meant to help cycle a fish tank. Products include Dr. Tim's One and Only, Brightwell Aquatics Microbacter Start, Aquavitro Seed. All of these are examples of different products that you can add to your system in order to help the cycle start and complete. The other thing that's important when trying to maintain this cycle is making sure that there is a constant ammonia source. So you may be wondering, isn't the goal to eliminate ammonia from the system? Yes, it is. But you need to have an ammonia source in order for the bacteria to effectively and continuously break down the ammonia and the nitrite. Simply put, the ammonia source is the food that you'll be feeding your fish every day. That is one of the reasons why it is so important to feed your fish on a daily basis. The cycle in your aquarium is the backbone to the ecosystem, because without this cycle, ammonia spikes can cause mass die-offs very quickly in the tank. As the bacteria dies off, or fish or coral, this causes ammonia to build up even quicker, which in turn can kill off even more of the fish and livestock. That is why it is so important to make sure that your cycle is complete before adding any fish. There is one last step to the cycle that doesn't necessarily happen in every aquarium, and it's not crucial either. This is denitrification. Denitrification happens when anaerobic bacteria that does not require oxygen, breaks down nitrate into nitrogen gas. This gas is then released from the aquarium into the air. What this means is that your nitrates will never actually build up in the system. You would essentially have zero nitrate, and you could avoid water changes to some extent, as again, you don't have any nitrates building up. Nitrates aren't necessarily going to be an issue in quantities from 0 to 30 parts per million, but once they get above that 30 parts per million, they can definitely fuel some nuisance algae growth and start to cause some stress on the inhabitants of the system, which is why doing water changes is essential to help remove the nitrates. Or if you have a thick sand bed or the proper type of media that has surface area in an anaerobic manner, This is where you can break down the nitrates and have an ecosystem that cleans itself. So that's the nitrogen cycle. Hopefully you learned some valuable information in today's video, as the nitrogen cycle is one of the key elements in keeping a fish tank. Again, the nitrogen cycle is important regardless of if you're trying to keep a freshwater aquarium, a saltwater aquarium, a reef tank, a pond, anything that is a body of water that is contained and is meant to maintain living organisms or an ecosystem. This, like I said, is the backbone at keeping it healthy and thriving. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. And remember, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. Or drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching.